Today I'm going to share with you exactly how I would design your business for a 4-day work week in 2026. I'm going to share with you exactly what I would focus on if you were my client and you were coming to me and saying, okay, hey, I'm wanting to drop down to a 4-day work week this year. What should we focus on? I'm going to tell you the exact way I would approach your business model, the exact shifts I would make, and the changes you should be looking to make if you want to actually cut down your work week this year. And if we're being really honest, I feel like most people love the idea of the 4-day work week, but we're still really designing businesses from the approach of a business that kind of takes a 6-day work week, or at least a 5-day work week. We are creating businesses that are really complex, that are just way overcomplicated, that require so much time and energy, that have so many different offers, so many different sales pathways. We're just making it really difficult. And when we are solopreneurs, this is something where we need to fix this immediately. And this is what actually unlocks the key to making it easy for you to scale your business while also having a 4-day work week. And it is the structure behind this business model that allows you to actually have the freedom to work 4 days a week. It is the structure, it is the practices which we are putting in place, it is the way we are actually building the model of your business that allows you to actually have such freedom. So I'm going to be walking you through the exact kind of model approach that I would take with your business, how I would actually look at things, how I would be shifting things this year if you're really wanting to cut down your working hours. So the first thing I would be really focusing on is one signature offer, which is driving most of your income. This is something which I think we don't talk about enough from the perspective of it feels like for a lot of people, this is kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. And then we're being risky of, what if something happens with this offer? What if people don't jump in, etc., which we'll get to in the other points because we've got to solve for that. But really just having one signature offer, which you are really known for, which people are able to jump into and which we are focusing on as intending this to be the main source of your income. This is so strategic because firstly, you're putting most of your time and energy into this. So this is the thing people really know you for. This is the easiest option for them to jump into because they are really aware of this offer because we've talked about it a lot. It also means that you're not constantly spreading yourself thin because what I see, especially with solopreneurs, is us really having this split attention of saying, okay, I have this one-to-one over here, I have this group over here, I have this mastermind over here, and I have this membership over here. And we are constantly jumping back and forth between those different things. And it makes it really difficult for you to work less, especially work a whole day less, because you just have so much that you need to constantly be putting your time and energy into. Versus if you have one program and you can also become really good at this one program, because sheer fact of you're spending so much time actually in this space and with your clients here that you get to really build an exceptional program just because of the amount of time you're spending here, but also you're able to be so focused that you can afford to take a day off and not lose any momentum there. This also means that if we know we have one program where most of the income is coming for, we get to focus the sales plan towards how do we just bring consistent income in this one space. And that is your focus. If you can do that, we're pretty good then, but we just need to then focus on that question of, okay, how do I bring in consistent clients, consistent income? How do I keep people inside this program for this one space, instead of you asking kind of the same question across 5 different spaces, thinking it's going to be easier when actually it just gives you more of a headache. And there's just so many variables then when we're thinking about a sales plan for 5 different programs of, are we going to get 5 people inside here or are we going to get 8? Because that changes the numbers quite differently. And then we'd need some extra people inside this program. And there's so many different variables there that it makes it really difficult to actually create a sales plan that you can feel confident in and that actually feels realistic and like it's actually going to happen. A lot of the time, if we have so many different offers, we'll create sales plans, but they're kind of a guess and a hope, and we don't end up actually really following them just from the fact that we've got so many different offers that we're so spread thin, and there's so many different variables of how it could turn out with the number of clients inside each program. So going back to that point I said on one offer can sometimes feel like putting all your eggs in one basket. What we want to do here is we want to have one offer, but we want to have multiple sales pathways for how people can come into that offer. So for example, if you've got one signature offer, which is your one-to-one program, and we've got this one-to-one program, we're putting all of our time and energy into there. What we're going to do to make this consistent, make this reliable, and also not make this putting all your eggs in one basket kind of situation is we're not just going to say, I'm just going to, launch this every 3 months and hopefully we'll get people in. We're going to have multiple different ways people can come into here. And by that, we're having multiple sales pathways. So map out how people are actually coming into this offer. And I want you to have 3 to 5 of these. I want you to actually think about multiple ways people come in. It could be, for example, we're going to do that quarterly launch where we open spaces. And before that, we're going to have a wait list where people can jump onto. Great. It could be also, we're going to offer single sessions and we're going to give them a nice upsell into the one-to-one from there. It could be also, we're going to have a low ticket program, which is going to be an absolute no-brainer for this ideal client. It's going to be an easy yes, super tangible, super specific, and then we're going to give an upsell from there as well. But you can see here we've got multiple ways that people can come in, so we're not spreading our attention thin and really spreading our focus thin by actually having so many different offers. Instead, we're having one offer, but we're creating multiple ways people can come into there, and we are repeating through those multiple different ways. So that means that actually if the quarterly launches, for example, stop working so well, we're completely fine because we've got the two other ways that people can actually jump in. So plan out multiple different sales pathways for how people are actually coming into this offer. Now, the second thing then you want to be doing and just shifting in terms of your business model and how you operate things to actually shift to a 4-day work week and making this possible is actually your weekly schedule. We need to get this in check. And I want you to look at this right now, actually write out what would you do in an average week? What does this actually look like for your business of just the tasks that take up an average week, especially the things that you don't think about, because there are so many of those where it's, the emails from someone asking to reschedule, I need to jump in and reschedule something. The things that almost don't really make it onto your calendar, but they're things that do pop up just during the week. Make sure those are listed too, and really look at every single task of what is actually not moving you forward that much. For example, a big one could be if you are saying, okay, I'm posting 5 times a week on Instagram, but I can see that actually most of my clients are coming from LinkedIn at the moment. Is it still worth me posting 5 times a week on Instagram? Or could we drop that to 4? Could we drop that to 3 even? And you're still showing up on that platform. You've still got a presence on that platform, but we're also not putting a crazy amount of time in there compared to the results which we're getting. Because if we're not getting much back, we don't want to be putting so much time into there. So have a look and have a play around with how can I shift my time then, especially knowing that we've got this one offer and we've got these few sales pathways. So that's kind of where you need to be focusing in terms of getting the clients there. But really looking at where does your time go and how can I shift some of those things which are just really low impact and not really getting me the results I want, and actually remove some of those or cut back on how much time is going there. Now, the third thing I want you to think about when it comes to actually switching down to a 4-day work week for your business and making this possible every single week is actually looking at these systems and how you're managing things in the background. Now, this does not look like saying go and get 5 different pieces of tech and set up all these different systems in terms of softwares. From this, I mean actually making templates and making it just really simple for you to do things. So for example, when you onboard a client, rather than you typing out the same welcome message every single time, can we have a template for that? If you just write it once and then we copy and paste. Can you have the onboarding form be something which gives you even more information so you're able to jump in quicker with that client and it's easier for you to get started with them? Can we make sure we have a proper offboarding form so you're not needing to do the whole same message every single time? Just making it easier for you to do the things in the business, especially with marketing, because when it comes to content, for example, it's so easy for us to spend so long on that, thinking about what do we want to talk about? How do we want to talk about it? What are we promoting at the moment? Just you taking a second to just get really organized with things and creating some content templates, creating some content pillars and writing out what do I want my content to be focused around if I was to make a few pillars out of this. Even thinking about creating an Airtable for a content bank. So it's really easy for you to actually repurpose some of your content, not constantly be creating new things. Think about where that will be most effective for you, where you're looking from step 2 at tasks and you're seeing this is really effective, so I don't want to stop doing this, but also it does take a lot of my time. When we're in that situation, we can really be looking, okay, how can I just make this easier for myself when I next come to do this? So how can I create a template? How can I create a content bank? How can I make it just easier for me to actually do this every single time if I know this is a regular thing which keeps happening and it just takes a lot of my time? How can we make this simpler for every single week where we are needing to do this? And this can also look like really tangibly shifting some containers and how they run, or shifting some boundaries, for example, putting those in place. But if you know, for example, okay, I'm wanting to do a 4-day work week, so I don't want to work Fridays now, that looks like shifting how your client communication is worded of I'm not going to be responding on Fridays. I am available from Monday to Thursday, this time to this time, for example, and actually shifting some boundaries there. That could look like actually blocking that out in your calendar so people can't schedule calls with you on a Friday, but making it really easy for that to actually be possible for you and make your business literally set up for that, not waiting until suddenly we find that extra time and it happens to be nothing is scheduled for Friday, so I can do a 4-day work week. Actually plan for that in advance. And the fourth and final thing that I would do to shift to a business model that actually allows you to work 4-day work weeks in 2026 is actually really making sure that all of your decision making in the business is really lifestyle first. So if you know that this is your primary goal, we're wanting to shift to working less hours, we want to be taking Fridays off, for example, are your decisions actually following that, because we need to make sure that every decision you're making is aligned towards that. Every decision is lifestyle first. And by that, we mean actually building a business that allows for this from the get-go. A lot of the times we will, again, think that, okay, I'm just gonna build the business, I'm gonna do the business, and at some point it will be possible just magically for me to do a 4-day work week. We've got to build this first. We've got to start putting in the things before this is even your reality. Before you even start working 4-day work weeks, actually put in the things that allow this to be possible in terms of the structures, in terms of the systems, and also your decision making, because we need to be making decisions knowing that this is the case. So for example, not overloading your plate, not deciding we're going to be adding in loads more projects, not deciding we're going to make it really complicated again and add in this second program and add in this additional stream, anything like that. We need to make sure we're actually making decisions with this in mind. So start treating your business as if you do have a 4-day work week before you've even got to that place. And this can be such a sustainable thing for you to think about as well, because I notice this again so often with clients of they've built their business in a way that was just focused on how much can we possibly make essentially versus what do I actually want to create? What life do I want to have around the business? Then they get to a point where they're working 6-day weeks and it's kind of exhausting and they don't really love it and they're kind of feeling a little bit burnt out and they're wanting to burn the whole thing to the ground as well. But actually, if we can just be really intentional with how we're building every single thing and everything goes through that lens of, is this actually a lifestyle first decision that I'm making? Is this actually aligned with how I want my business to look and how I want it to fit into my life? If you're actually asking yourself that question for every single decision you're making, it makes it really easy for you to work a 4-day work week because your business is literally built for it. Your contracts are built with that in place. Your offers are built to allow that. Your marketing is built so that it doesn't take 5 days a week for you to actually be getting the number of clients you want. Everything is built to allow for that. And this is the piece which we forget so much of how intentionally we can actually build our businesses. If you know you want to do a 4-day work week, you can start building for that now. You can start putting in place for that now. Even if right now it doesn't even look possible for you, start putting in place in those small ways of just how you can set yourself up for this so it's really easy for you to start transitioning into that. It is the choices which you're making now in terms of how you're actually structuring the model and the base and the foundation of your business, which are going to impact the business that you have all through 2026 and into 2027 as well. Those are the things which are going to set the tone for how you just do business and how your business builds, and also allow it to scale in a way that feels really sustainable for your life. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you give it a like, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the new videos every week, and I will see you in the next one.